year now coming to a close, it's once again time for me to decide the 10 best horror movies I saw in the year 2022. As a whole, overall, I thought 2022 was a fantastic year for horror. I have a worst of 2022 video coming out as well next week, and I truthfully had a much harder time picking movies for that list. 2022 delivered so many great horror flicks from all different subgenres: anthologies, creature features, body horror, found footage, and so many awesome slashers. I did a whole video discussing the death of the slasher genre, and I am not too proud to admit, the year 2022 made me eat my words. The slasher is still alive and well. This actually might even be the best year for slashers since the early 2000s. 2022 overall was a gift from the horror gods for fans. It's really not going to be easy for me to narrow my list down and pick just 10 films I loved, but for all of you, I'll try my best. Before I start, here are a few honorable mentions that didn't quite make it into my top 10. Scream, Christmas Bloody Christmas, Crimes of the Future, Moloch, Hellbender, Smile, The Menu, and VHS 99. Alright, starting at number 10 is Mad God. This is lower down on my list just because I didn't fully connect with the overall story Mad God was trying to tell. For me, it was more of a series of visuals rather than a cohesive and compelling narrative. But even with the visuals alone, Mad God absolutely gets a spot on my list. Mad God is like LSD put to screen, delivering 84 minutes of mind-warping visuals. Mad God was a 30-year labor of love for special effects legend Phil Tippett, and that time and commitment to the project definitely shows. Mad God is an unbelievable and bizarre spectacle that is required viewing for any horror enthusiast. In my number 9 spot, I have The Innocents. I am simply embarrassed by how long it took me to watch this film. Other YouTubers were praising the movie constantly. I heard about it over and over on r/horror. The Innocents has a 96% score on Rotten Tomatoes, the second highest of the year for horror films. Yet somehow I was still not convinced, and like an idiot, I put off watching this until December. And oh my god, did The Innocents blow me away. I typically never like evil kid movies, but The Innocents crept under my skin, filled me with a great sense of dread, and left me with a deep mistrust for toddlers and tykes. My advice? Don't make the same mistake I did, and please check out The Innocents as soon as possible. Number 8 on my list is Piggy. I watched Piggy during this year's Sundance Film Festival, and it really left an impact on me. Piggy is a super focused film, tense from start to finish, delivering a really brutal, bleak, and harrowing story of bullying. Like The Innocents, it is one of the highest rated films of the year with a 92% score. And while Piggy isn't exactly a fun or easy watch, if you're up for a suspenseful tale of revenge, I think Piggy is certainly worthwhile. Next, at number 7, is Men. Yeah, that's right, I'm one of those people. One of those freaks that love this extremely divisive movie. I'm absolutely positive Men will be in just as many people's bottom 10 lists, but for me, as soon as I left the theater in May, I instantly knew this would be in my year-end top 10. I love so much about Men: the cinematography, Alex Garland's direction, Jesse Buckley and Rory Kinnear's performances, and the themes centered around the Green Man and rebirth. Even if you didn't love Men as much as I did, you at least have to admit, the birth scene near the end is the most insane movie scene you saw in 2022. If you saw anything crazier, I beg you to comment down below so I can watch that scene myself. Next, coming in at number 6 on my list, I have Nope. Look, I wanted to move this higher, I wanted to love it as much as others. I frequently see Nope as people's #1 movie of the year, and don't get me wrong, I still really enjoyed Nope, certainly more than Us. It was a big fun movie with creative ideas and a lot of interesting messages to unpack on the car ride home. Maybe I just need to watch it a second time, maybe it'll move up higher over time, but for now, as much as I enjoyed it, Nope just didn't wow me compared to my top 5 movies. Speaking of top 5, at number 5, I have Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2 had every single thing I wanted in a Terrifier sequel. There was more blood, more creative kills, better performances from the lead actors, it looked better, it had more of a story, more art shenanigans, and somehow even had a death scene that topped the brutal upside-down rusty saw kill from the original. I had an absolute blast watching this on Halloween night. It was the perfect movie for the holiday and will for sure be in my rotation for future Halloweens. At number 4 on my list, I have Hatching. Hatching was such a pleasant surprise for me. I am a total sucker for a well-made body horror story featuring some top-notch practical effects. And I know it's such a cliche for a horror fan to say they prefer practical effects over CGI. It's said all the time, all over the internet. But really, there is nothing quite like the magic of outstanding effects. A horror movie like Hatching and its practicals adds such a great sense of realism. The egg and the creature in all its different stages all looked fantastic and really helped me to buy into the story. The best thing I can say about Hatching is it is unique through and through. I watch a lot of horror. You could argue probably too much horror. This year alone, I've probably watched 5 werewolf movies, 10 home invasions, 15 different slashers. And what I loved most about Hatching is that it is unlike anything I have ever seen before. It was singular, it was new, it was so fresh. I don't have anything to directly compare it to, and for that reason alone, it has a spot in my top 10. Next up, number 3 on my list is X. And you know what? I might as well just say what my number 2 on my list is at the same time. My number 2 is Pearl. It's hard to believe these two movies both came out in 2022. I can't think of another time I've seen 2 brand new movies in the same universe from the same director, both coming into theaters only months apart. I placed Pearl and X together on my list, not just because one is a sequel to the other, but because their number 2 and number 3 spots are really meaningless. I flip-flop back and forth deciding which one I prefer constantly. There was a strong argument X was the better film, X was more brutal, it had superior kills, more sex, more action. It was more of a prototypical horror movie with suspense and scares and surprises, and X did set up the overall universe and laid the groundwork that Pearl benefited from and later expanded upon. Though, as I sit and write this video's script, I still prefer Pearl by just a hair. The main reason for that is Mia Goth. Sure, she's in both movies, but while X is an ensemble film, Mia Goth is the sole focus of Pearl. It's a character study where Goth is given 90 minutes of screen time to explore the role, and oh my god does she take full advantage of that opportunity. Her unbroken monologue towards the end of the film was remarkable. It was the kind of moment that grabbed you by the throat, in your theater seat, and demanded your full attention. I really dare you to find 5 better female performances from 2022. If she isn't nominated for an Academy Award this year, every single voter should be fed to the crocodiles. Alright, and now my number 1 horror movie from 2022, Barbarian. Sorry to talk about this movie for a 5th time on my channel. I'm sure at this point you're tired of me saying how much I love director Zach Cregger and just how important his sketch group, Whitest Kid You Know, was to me growing up. I'm sure you don't want to hear me praise Barbarian again for being shocking and exhilarating and innovative and wildly creative. You probably don't want to hear me struggle to come up with new compliments and adjectives I haven't already used. But again, sorry, I just have to talk about it one last time. Barbarian takes every expectation you had going in and completely flips these expectations on their head, delivering one of the most shocking twists I've seen. I saw this movie 4 times in theaters, and that moment got huge gasps every single time. As well, the scene with the tape measure also got equally huge laughs every single time. Barbarian is just as scary as it is funny. There was simply no other possible choice here. Barbarian had to be my number 1 movie of the year. Barbarian was not just my favorite horror movie of Barbarian was not just my favorite horror movie of 2022, or the last 2 years or 3 years. This might just be my favorite horror movie since 2018. Leaving the theaters after Barbarian, I was positively giddy. I was ecstatic. I was legitimately smiling from ear to ear for a good 30 minutes afterwards. In a word, Barbarian was incredible, and I am just so jealous of anyone that gets to watch it for the first time. Alright, those are my 10 favorite horror movies from 2022. Please in the comments below tell me what your, let's say 3 favorite horror movies from this year were. Or if you want, give me your top 10 or your top 20. I got nothing but time. I promise I'll read however many movies you want to rank below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, Horror Flicks with Nick. Twice a week I post horror reviews, commentaries, and short recommendations for horror movies you should watch on Netflix and other streaming services.